So when most teachers think of school gardens, the two things that come to mind is I don't have time to teach gardening and plant science is not in my curriculum. So what we have done is we have come up with some garden learning centers. Centers are a format that most, especially elementary school teachers, are familiar with, and we have been able to connect these centers to curriculum of all areas, so making the garden an accessible place for teachers of every subject and every walk of life.
So another barrier we have found with teachers that we work with is how do I go outside and teach? I know how to teach in my classroom, but the outdoor classroom I don't feel the same confidence. And so student engagement obviously is really, really important, that when we take 25 students out, that everybody has something productive to do, not just the 2 or 3 that are planting or weeding or harvesting, whatever they might be doing. So we're going to be delving into how to keep students engaged while in the garden or around the garden area.
Here we are at our Nature Building Center, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about what materials you might need and the benefits of a Nature Building Center. So what we have here are, I always like to include a few flat pieces of board. These have some nice natural edges, not necessary, could be just any type of something that's flat that students can build on. I like having some of these little wooden discs of different sizes of branches. We have pine cones and sweet gumballs here, lots of different rock options and sizes. I think these are magnolias. We also have quite a few varieties of leaves in different shapes and textures. I have some shells and some different mosses and lichens. The Nature Building Center can be really anything that you can collect. In fact, have your students bring in items from their own backyard will give it a really nice personal touch. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits.
So Amy, is this like just a free station, a place to come play, or is there curriculum connections, or can it be both?
Well, first off, I want to point out that there is a big benefit to free play, allowing students some choice and creativity. Then they discover a lot of curriculum items on their own without having that formal instruction.
Yeah.
But there are many curriculum connections that go much beyond plant science. So let's look at these 2 rocks here. So tell me first, I want you to hold these in your hand and just close your eyes and describe them to me.
Okay, the one in my right hand is smooth. It's not quite round. It does have somewhat of a point. The other one doesn't have a definite shape at all, but it's definitely rough. Smooth spots, but overall it's much rougher.
Okay, so here we used our sense of touch. Now look at them. I want you to describe them by looking.
Okay, color is significantly different. One has a flat side that you could probably stack something on. The other one, no real flat sides, almost, but not quite.
Okay. Do they make a sound?
No, they don't.
Okay.
No sound.
What if you bang something on them? Does it, what if you take this rock, does it make a different sound when I hit it with that?
It's pretty similar.
Pretty similar. Okay.
Yeah.
So looking at sound. So here we've looked at, we're not going to taste them today.
Good.
But smelling them. Any difference in the smell?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not significant.
But one thing we can do is we can use our 5 senses to explore. Now let's look at these a little closer. So what do you think might be the reason one is smooth and one is not smooth? Wonder, where did they come from in nature? Where was this one located? Where was this one located? Would they be found in the same place? Was this rock ever this shape, and maybe what happened to it? Here we can get into a conversation on, could start off as weathering, but also bringing in force and motion, the force that water has and sand and all of that to make that. Might get into how, if I wanted this one smooth, you know a lot about rock polishing, how do I get something like this and make it smooth?
So yeah, and it might cause students to ask the question, where were these found, if they weren't the ones that found them, the teacher never told.
This
yeah.
one looks very interesting. It has a lot of different colors and it has some stripes. So again, just looking and wondering about these, looking at the different textures. Some of these sticks have a much smoother bark than others. This one's rough, but very different. We have some with some things on here. I wonder if that's living or non-living, or if that's part of the bark. So just allowing these students to question and wonder about things, using their senses. Tell me a little bit about some of the leaves we have.
Let me just add on to that, what you were just saying. It's a great way to explore without just sending the students out and say, we'll see you in 10 minutes. So
Right,
here you have
right.
a kind of a confined exploration. So we have several leaves here, and one of the things that might be noticed by our students is different patterns in the veins. We have at least 3 here, I believe, and so if they're noticing, they might not even know their veins, younger students in particular, but they'll see patterns in the veins or in the leaf venations. So,
Are there patterns to how the leaves are attached to the
oh,
plant?
good question. Yeah, great. So on this magnolia, we see that leaves are alternately found on the stem, where with this privet, they are opposite of each other
Oh, okay.
on the stem. So there's at least 2 forms of leaf arrangement we can count on.
Right. So just looking at it, and does it have to be from a leaf arrangement, or can I just use those as vocabulary? What does alternate mean? What does opposite mean?
Right.
So
right.
learning those vocabulary. What I like here is I can show change over time. Here is a magnolia blossom that's in full bloom. I can see the petals, I've got the leaves, I've got the whole center part. And here is a little bit later, all the petals have fallen off. I can see that they were related, that this was the same as this, but it looks very different. I can see where the petals were attached. And then I have this. And I might not know, if I didn't know this came from my tree, I might not know that this came from this. So now I can look at change over time, and I can explore and think, what's gonna happen to this in a week, a month, a year? What will happen to any of these items? I can explore living and non-living.
Right. In these leaves, we see color differences on the same leaf. The veins appear to be green, in between not so much, causing us maybe to ask, why? Is there something wrong with it? Is that the typical pattern? And so once again, the observation, exploration of what they see.
And looking at this, the patterns on the shells, we can look at these patterns, we can look at the patterns on the pine cones. I can wonder, is there a consistent pattern? You know, is this one of these patterns in nature? Does this follow some sort of mathematical sequence in that? So yes, it might seem like a free play station, but it can hold a lot of curriculum depending upon whether you want them just to have the freedom to build, or whether you want to include prompts, have them compare and contrast, ask some inquiry questions. Now, what about building? Because it's called a nature building center. So tell me about, how does material factor into building?
So yeah, wood and rocks are the 2 very obvious things here to build with. One would tend to flex more than the other. We also have some smaller twigs that could interlock when built, similar to Lincoln logs.
Okay.
Okay, so a great opportunity to practice building a tower or a small structure like a fort that would be obviously too small to get in, but
a fairy house.
Okay, all right, that would work
build
too.
Fairy houses.
But no harm in practicing building your fort here before you go out into the woods and do that yourself.
And I can also have a lot of writing prompts about this. So maybe I do build a fort or a fairy house, and then I can write about who might come visit that. You know, maybe I might want to build a habitat for something I find outside.
Yeah.
So again, it might seem like playing with rocks and sticks, but there's a lot of benefit and a lot of curriculum that can be tied into this. And again, just allowing students the time to to
Right.
have those questions, to inquire about things, and to explore on their own, I
Right.
think is very beneficial. Another option for your nature building center is having a mandala station or mandala station. I'm not really quite sure which way is the correct way to pronounce that, but I do know that in Sanskrit it means circle. So most of the mandalas that you see are going to be circular in nature.
Okay, so some of the materials you might want to collect ahead of time. This is probably going to be, or might be a little different than just the nature building. Is we've got a variety of beans and popcorn, beans, lentils, and then some stones again, seashells. So using some of the same things, but all kinds of beans and nuts and seeds. That
Another
are
great
cheap.
addition is pasta. Pasta comes in all kinds of shapes. I don't have an example of that out here, but that makes a great building, and that lasts for quite a while.
Cool. Amy, you're a former math teacher, okay? So obviously students can just have a ball doing cool artwork with this, but how about math connections?
Okay, well let's start first off with patterns. This very much lends itself to patterns. I can create patterns, I can create symmetry. Maybe my goal is to create something that is asymmetrical. But also if I'm learning multiplication right now, I can do things in terms of multiples. So again, mandala means circle, so might have several circles. My first circle, let's say we're working on learning our multiples of 3, or our multiplication facts with 3. So 3 times 1 is what?
3.
3. So my first layer, my first circle, or my first part of that, might be the center, might have 3 items in it. Let's say it has 3 of these gumballs. Then my second layer is going to be 3 times 2. I can now have 6 items. My third layer, or third circle, I could have 3 times 3 is 9. So here I can build off of my learning and create and learn those. And if I stumble, I'm not having to memorize that. I can go, here's one group of 3, here's 2 groups of 3, here's 3 groups of 3. So it helps to solidify, it helps to take that abstract concept and make it more concrete for your hands-on tactile learner.
Okay, that's cool. Now, you've got the 3 gumballs. Do you have to do 6 right around that, or could I do something like take some sticks, which are like rays, and then could I? So
Absolutely.
I don't have to just make circle after circle.
But each layer would have a multiple.
Those multiples. Okay, great.
So that's one way. If I want to, maybe I used to teach middle school math, and it's really hard to make middle school math concepts concrete for those learners that need that. So here I can get into those concepts that are 7th or 8th grade concepts, like rotations, reflections. So here I am looking at symmetry, but I'm looking at an advanced level of symmetry. Or maybe I am trying to solve an equation and have an equation to follow by substituting a different number for x for each level. So these can be rather complex.
And there's a lot of students that will appreciate seeing that math.
And looking at those patterns in nature, and honestly, they're just really fun, and they're relaxing, and they get your creative juices flowing.
Right.
Like right now, I really want to play and make one.
Okay. I'm not sure if we have time for that right now, but
Okay, later.
Okay. So you've got some flowers here.
Yeah, I think it's great just to have as many different options as you can. Who doesn't love going and picking clover? So finding some different things, allowing the students, to have a minute or two beforehand to collect some items to add to that is beneficial as well. They'll feel a little more ownership in that.
Right.
So I highly recommend considering having some of these items. I'm sure parents are easily willing to send these in. Dried beans are easy to find, cheap, they last a long time, and I think it's a great creative station that addresses curriculum, plus it addresses the needs of the whole child.
Very good.
Consider having this at your centers.
Okay.
So we hope that you can get something from this and go create your own centers. Be creative when you put them together. There's a lot of different things that you might want to do that we didn't do, and there's plenty other centers that you could create as well.
Sure.
So we hope that this has been helpful for you.